of the Board of Public Works to order. Would you please call the roll?
Yes, Commissioner Moriarty,
Here.
Commissioner Shoneman,
Here.
Commissioner Shea,
Here.
and Mayor Donches.
Here. And we have Alderman Jettie, who's the alternate liaison from the Board of Aldermen. And we wanted to welcome Patty Rogers to her first meeting, at least I think it's her first.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us. So we have a motion first to approve the agenda. Commissioner Moriarty.
Yes, I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have a motion to approve the minutes of the December meeting. Commissioner Shea.
I motion to approve the minutes of the Board of Public Works meeting of December 15th, 2022.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Public comment. Is there any member of the public who would like to address the board? All right. Wastewater Department. We have a motion, Commissioner Shoneman.
I move to approve the user warrants as presented.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We now have item B. Commissioner Moriarty.
I move to approve the last 6 months of FY23 purchase of polymer from Polydyne of Riceboro, Georgia, in the amount of $362,000. Funding will be through Department 169 Wastewater, Fund Wastewater, Account Classification, 61 Supplies and Materials.
Thank you. Mr. Boucher.
Thank you, Mayor. Dave Boucher, wastewater superintendent. So this is the purchase of polymer to get us through the end of the year, the end of fiscal year 23. Polymer is used at the wastewater facility in 2 separate processes. Helps aid in the drying and thickening of sludge. We have to do this every 6 months because this company does rate increases or decreases every 6 months. It's not through a consortium. This is a company, we have different companies come in and test their product against our sludge, see which one works the best. Polydyne is the company that sells the product that works the best, so we'd like to continue using them. You can answer any questions.
All right. Any questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Engineering Department, item A, Commissioner Shea.
The motion is to approve the, item A, are we sure?
Yes.
Okay. The motion is to approve the sewer service permits and fees as submitted.
Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item B, Commissioner Shoneman.
I move to approve the following poll license petitions as listed in the staff report.
Anyone? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item C, Commissioner Moriarty.
Move to approve the award of the construction contract for the 2023 paving program, Contract 1, to Continental Paving, Inc. of Londonderry, New Hampshire, in the amount of $1,684,994. Funding through Departments 160 Admin Engineering and 169 Wastewater. Funds, bond and wastewater, activities, paving, sewer improvements, and stormwater.
Mr. Hudson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good afternoon, Dan Hudson, City Engineer. This is part of our annual paving program. Given the recent funding approval, we're looking to pave about $7.5 million worth of road this summer. This is contract 1 of 2 contracts that will be advertising. Contract 1 was put out to bid. It involves the arterial roadways, of particular note, Main Street. We intend to pave Main Street from West Hall Street to the bridge this year. intending to do that late in the season, towards the end of the dining, outdoor dining. There's 3 bids received on the project. Low bidder was Continental Paving. Continental is a well-known, well-respected paving company that does quite a bit of work in New Hampshire and for DOT. So we're pleased with their bid and look forward to working with them should you choose to award.
All right, thank you. Any questions, comments? All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item D, Commissioner Shea.
The motion is to approve the engineering services contract with Hayner Swanson Incorporated of Nashua, New Hampshire, in the amount of $300,000 for the management and construction administration of the paving program, funding through Department 160, Administrative Engineering Fund, Bond, Activity, Paving.
Dan Hudson, City Engineer. So this is a companion contract to the one that was just approved. This is engineering support services. Of course, we manage the program within engineering, but we require additional help due to the scale of the program. HSI has served us for a number of years in this capacity. They help with administration, but they also provide the boots on the ground, day-to-day inspection work, so to speak. So they're out there every day with the paving contractors, overseeing their work and making sure it complies with specifications and the quality we expect. So again, this year we're asking to approve a contract with them. This contract would also cover contract 2 administration once that is bid and awarded. So you should only see this engineering contract once, but it will cover both paving contracts this season.
Commissioner Moriarty.
Yes, Mayor, I just had one question, going back to the previous motion on the award with Continental. We've used Continental in the past. I know they did the Parkway, and we also used them for some of the paving program, correct, Engineer?
Yeah, that's my understanding. That predated my being at City. I've only been here 3 years, but yeah, we have used them in the past, and I'm very familiar with that company. I've worked with them on a number of projects in different communities I've worked in, so very, very comfortable with them.
Thank you.
Anyone? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item E, Commissioner Shoneman.
The motion is to consider the hardship waiver request from Liberty Utilities to excavate in moratorium streets for grade 2 gas leak repairs through calendar year 2023.
So this is a request Liberty's made the last couple of years. It's been approved the last couple of years, but it's basically a blanket approval for them to do, address grade 2 leaks in moratorium streets without bringing each of those individually for approval to the board. As has previously been discussed, grade 2 leaks are ones that they're required by the PUC to address within 6 months and within the same calendar year, so whichever thing comes first, because there's a time restriction there. We've described previous years about how we work with Liberty. They do pre-screening of streets to clear them, and then we do our work. And unfortunately, on occasion, they do find leaks after the fact, and that's where this comes in. So I believe Brad Marks from Liberty is here, and he can address any questions about what they do in their operations, and obviously knows details much better than I about gas leaks. So if the board has any questions for him, I'm sure he'd be happy to address them.
Commissioner Shoneman?
In the past couple of years, this blanket approval of what's supposed to be occasional gas leak repairs for grade 2 leaks has been brought to the board, and it's gone through, though I have personally not supported it, and I continue to not support it, because the work of this board is to approve, to give approval for these things, and to have them come to us so that we can discuss it and consider whether it's a good thing for the overall health of our, if you want to use that term, of our streets. So the streets in moratorium, if we're digging into them in the first 5 years, are decreasing the life of these very expensive streets. You know, we're spending millions and millions of dollars to pave these streets. And they're going back and digging into them within a year, 2 years, 3 years. The life of that particular street is decreased by over 33%, is what we've been told. So if Liberty Utilities is coming through and inspecting the roads before they're paved, why are they coming back again within 3 years for the occasional grade 2 leak, which is not an emergency situation? And if they're finding not very many of them, the occasional leak, as you said, why can't they bring them to the board as everyone else does? So
Yeah, I'll defer to Brad. I would just quickly say that they are required to repair these within those time periods they specified, so it's not a matter of can they do it or not do it, they're going to have to do it per PUC regulation. So in the past, I think the board's consensus has been, well, if that's the case, why not let them do it as quickly as they can? We provide a report every month about, you know, when and where we've had those situations, so I do understand your point. I will have, we'll have you come up and just describe, you know, what you do before we pave and then why you find leaks afterwards.
Yes, thank you. My name is Brad Marks. I'm the engineering manager for Liberty Utilities. So when we know that the city is looking to pave a street, we get their list and we go out and we survey before they go ahead and pave. If we find any leaks at that point, we will address them before they get paved. This blanket that we're asking for here, this approval, it's for those unfortunate leaks that happen after we've already screened it and after it's already been paved. Each year, we find new leaks through, typically through frost and thaw cycles. You know, that's what the ground loosens and leaks get exposed, unfortunately. What this allows us to do, we're still coordinating with the city, we're still going through the normal excavation permit process here, but it allows us to schedule these better, and it allows us to address these leaks in a more timely manner. So, I'm willing to answer more questions if need be.
Commissioner Schoeneman, any follow-up you want
Well, I continue, you know, to ask why it is that Liberty can't find these leaks before the paving is done.
It's because they happen after the paving is done. They happen sometime after the paving has already been completed. So it's the following year or 2 years or even, 3 years within that moratorium window. Again, it's an unfortunate situation. We try to avoid it. We try to address leaks. Another thing we do is, leak types of main that we know are typically leak prone, such as cast iron and bare steel. Those actually get fully replaced based on their paving list. So if we see a street on the paving list we know as cast iron or bare steel, we'll actually create a project to go and replace the entire main, knowing that it is particularly leak prone. But we don't replace every main in advance of paving, so some of them we end up discovering leaks after they have been paved and unfortunately before the end of the 5-year moratorium.
Yes. Director Photo.
Brad, to Commissioner Schoeneman's point, when you're saying that you check all of the streets
Correct.
when you get our paving list to determine if there are any leaks,
Mhm.
what would cause, and at that time you don't find any, right? Because otherwise you'd
Correct.
address them. What would cause leaks after paving? What sorts of what sorts of issues will cause a leak to occur?
Yeah, so typically it's ground movement through a frost and a thaw cycle. Some of our, for example, we have some of our mains out there that are connected via couplings. These couplings can loosen over time. They use, there's rubber gaskets involved. So again, the weather impacts coming in out of winter into a spring site, thawing, that can impact it and cause a leak, unfortunately. There's other variables as well, but that's a common one that we see.
Okay, thank you.
How many miles of gas piping do you think you have in the city of Nashua? Do you have any idea?
Top of my head,
We have 300 miles of street, so I don't know if there's some correlation there.
yeah, if there's 300 miles of, I say we have gas in at least half of the streets. I would venture to guess somewhere, at least half, maybe close to 200 if it's 300.
Commissioner Moriarty.
Yeah, what is the typical depth of the gas line?
Typical depth of cover is 3 feet. In the city, we had been installing them at 42 inches, so 3.5 feet for a period of time. But industry standard federal code is 3 feet of cover.
So then the frost line is more than 3 feet, is it not, typically? So that's why you get that shifting.
Yes.
So, but to go deeper would cost much more, I guess. Is that why we don't go deeper with the gas line, so we don't have these shifts and the gas leaks? I mean, there must be a reason.
Yeah, no, we typically don't go deeper. That's industry standard. You know, for one, it gets more expensive on the ratepayers. If we have to go deeper, of course, more time. It also allows us, I know, typically water and sewer are deeper. It allows us to, if we have to cross them, avoid, hopefully avoid creating an offset.
Thank you.
Commissioner Shea.
So when natural gas leaks, is it methane, is that right, technically?
Yeah, the primary makeup of natural gas is methane, correct?
So in methane is, I think we discussed this the last time we reviewed this, and I just want to kind of ask the series of questions to illustrate my thoughts on it. And so methane, as far as greenhouse gases, is significantly stronger than carbon dioxide. Do you believe, is that the case?
I believe that is
Yeah.
correct, yes.
And so when the trucks are going around with little sniffer dongles
Yep.
or whatever those are, and they pick that up, there's natural gas that's leaking out and going straight to atmosphere the entire time until it's addressed.
That is
I mean,
correct. yep.
unless the refrosting shifts the pipe back miraculously, yeah. And so doing this not only addresses a near-term safety issue, but it also addresses the extent to which there's an environmental impact by reducing the duration of the leaks. And
Yes.
by not having to go through the process, you may be reducing the time to fix by 4 to 6 weeks or more. Is that about right?
I would say that is accurate, yes. This allows us to address leaks in a more timely manner.
Thank you.
Commissioner Schoeneman.
Not to be the chief Gorgon of the Board of Public Works, but I will reiterate
The
that.
chief what?
Gorgon.
Well,
Snakes.
that's a first. I've not heard that word used in the Board of Public Works
Well.
before. That's pretty good.
You'll enjoy the pictures when you look it up.
Good.
Anyway, I want to reiterate that I know these leaks happen. I know they're not emergency leaks. They're not releasing massive amounts of methane to our poor environment. And it still stands that they should come to us. If we've got 6 months, there's no reason the request can't come to us. So, there it is.
Anyone else?
I have one more
Commissioner, or excuse me, Director Schiff.
I just have one more question. If
I'm looking at.
If the leak happened December 15th, would you need it to fix it by January 1st? Because it has to be in the calendar year? How does that work?
By the letter of the law, yes. There tends to be some reason within that, in that scenario, we probably wouldn't get in trouble with our regulatory bodies, but typically we do have that rule on 6 months or end of the calendar year, whichever comes closer.
But if there was a leak, say, mid-November,
Yeah.
you would need to repair that? Or
Yeah,
is there some leeway
That
within
would,
that timeframe?
November would be hard to justify not getting it done by the,
So that could be a challenge if
Yeah.
we didn't have a meeting until mid-December, then.
Yep.
That could
Correct.
put them out of compliance with PUC regulations. It's
potentially.
just a thought.
Do these
Potentially
repairs go
correct.
through in the winter?
Well, sorry, say that again?
Do you do these repairs in the winter, all winter long?
If need be, typically on the grade twos, no, we're mostly just fixing grade ones, which are emergency
Emergencies.
situations that need to be fixed immediately. Grade twos, we typically, like I said, the bulk of that, we end up seeing more in the spring anyway. We typically don't see a lot of grade twos this time of year. But if we were, we would try and put in a request to fix them. If not, maybe wait till April. But again, we try and whenever we find these, we want to try and fix them in a timely manner.
Commissioner Shea.
Do you have any sort of data on, just ballpark, on what the volume is like as far as these leaks and how much comes out of them?
It really depends on the nature of the leak. I could maybe try and find some kind of a data associated with that.
I imagine that measurement might have something to do with the threshold of 1 versus 2, right?
So it does. It's also based on location as well, how close it is to a house.
Okay.
There's other factors that play into severity of leaks.
I would reject the notion that though these leaks are small, they're not of environmental impact of significance. When we have one city, Nashua, it might not be a big deal, but when we're talking about hundreds of cities across the country, if every city adopted this policy or every city adopted the make it wait 6 weeks policy, that those little bits add up over time. I do respect your position on it, Commissioner Schoeneman, but I would just disagree with the idea that the environmental impact is not worth considering in the decision-making that we have today.
All right, anyone else? I think you understand the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes. Thank you very much. Item F, Commissioner Moriarty.
The motion is to consider the hardship request from SD Realty LLC to excavate to allow the reconfiguration of an existing curb cut and sidewalk on Lake Street.
So Dan Hudson, city engineer. I'll introduce this and then provide an opportunity for the representatives to speak to it. But this is a moratorium request on Lake Street. This was a development that was approved by planning board back in January of 2022. We've worked with them to try to minimize the cutting in the street on this one. The planning board approval at our request includes replacement of some sidewalk along Lake Street. And so that's part of the reason for this request, and the other part of it is so they can reconstruct their driveway. What we're proposing here is to limit the cutting into Lake Street to within a foot of the proposed curb line, which would, again, enable them to basically redo their driveway and redo the sidewalk without cutting deeply into the street. And that's something that we've done kind of as a pilot on some other projects as well. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions, of course, but I'll turn it over to, I think Katie from Bedford Design is here, and she can speak to the hardship aspect in terms of having to wait for the 5-year moratorium to be up.
Good afternoon. My name is Katie Weiss. I'm with Bedford Design Consultants. I'm the project manager for the project. The reason that we're asking to cut into the pavement now is because the exit point that we created is at at this moment, open wide. The actual curbing is flush with the street, and there's no way to tell where the pedestrians are walking and where cars are coming in and out. So it's more of a safety issue. We want to make sure that the cars that are leaving the site, they know exactly where the pedestrians are, and the pedestrians know exactly where the cars are going. So it's a safety issue, and that's why we're asking to be able to cut into the road, like you said, just along the curb line, and hopefully you will consider that a hardship. Thank you.
And what is the project?
This is the old Poor Pierre's restaurant. It's down over where the Shaw's Plaza is, at that intersection where Main Street and Lake Street are. It's an old kind of 1950s diner.
Yeah.
So they're proposing to renovate it, and they're doing a smoke shop there. And so we've changed the circulation where the entrance is off of Main Street and the exit point is on Lake Street.
And what would happen if this weren't approved?
Well, the issue would be just pedestrians, knowing where they're supposed to be in regards to where the people are stopping to take left turns and right turns out of the site. Like I said, it's a wide open space. It's about 40 feet wide, and it's level, so the road is level, at the same level as the sidewalk, at the same level as the pavement as you're exiting. So it just is all one plane of pavement with no delineation for a sidewalk.
And if this weren't approved, would the project go forward?
The project could go forward, yes. It would be interesting looking, but it could
would
go
be what?
forward. Interesting looking, there'd be curbing in weird places on the site. There, it would end at the property line, and that could also be an issue. I'm not quite sure how we would integrate the two. Yep.
So we would, the sidewalk improvement is required as part of the planning board case. So we would make them bond that such that they'd have to install it after the moratorium period was up. But the city wouldn't have the benefit of that sidewalk for the period of time between when they get done and when the moratorium runs out. It's just bringing this forward now enables them to do that sidewalk work that we'd like to see done, do that sooner rather than later. And again, the cut limitation is just a foot along, so they can dig and construct a sidewalk curbing and build the sidewalk. It's not a cut out into the middle of the street or anything like that.
So you're saying the conversion would go ahead and you would
They
request a
would build-
bond that the work be done?
Yeah, I
in a
think
couple of years?
essentially we'd have to work with planning, but my sense is,
The bond is already completed.
yeah, so, yeah, we have a bond for it already anyway, yeah, because we
You have
bond
a
the whole
what?
thing. We have a bond that covers this work already because they needed that, but we would hold that for a longer period of time so they could do it. I mean, I think what would happen is, I'm assuming that the planning board will allow them to go and complete their project, occupy the space, and then come back later and do the sidewalk, because that was a city request.
Would a denial require a return to the planning board?
It was a condition approval, yeah, so it probably would go back to the planning board for reconsideration or amendment or something to that effect, changing the timeline, because that was a condition that would be required to be completed prior to occupancy otherwise, so the board would have to take that up again and consider that.
And when,
But the board was aware of this moratorium request, and
when did this
When they
go to the
approved it.
planning board?
when did it go?
Yeah,
Yeah, it was approved last January.
last when?
Yeah, and we've been back and forth talking about a couple things with them since about, looking at their sewer service and talking about limiting this cut and things like that. So that's
And
why
when
the
did it-
year has
but I
transpired.
just- Sometime last year, I think you said, but do you remember what month or anything?
It was January. Yeah, it was
January of-
January of last year is when
January of 22?
January 6th is when the planning board approved the case.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Commissioner Shea?
When is Main Street on our schedule to be paved?
Well, this moratorium piece is actually in Lake Street. That portion of Main Street, I don't know offhand.
Okay.
I mean, we're paving the section I mentioned earlier, and we'll continue to the south, I think, after that. So it'll probably be coming up in the next few years.
Okay. But the nature of my question is that I'm wondering if this can be done in such a way that when Main Street is done, we can have a nice, clean connection, because that's going to happen anyway with Lake Street past the drive here and past the disturbance. And what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, without a definition of exactly when we're going to pave Main Street, I'm not sure I can speak to that. I mean, certainly when we pave a street, we're going to make a nice match to whatever's there. This work is planned to precede the Main Street work, which would be preferable. We'd rather have them cut and have that done, and so we can come back and match to it in a clean fashion as you suggest, but, yeah, it's
And-
good considerations.
Commissioner Shea.
And so the proposal here, is it to go to the center of the street or all the way across?
No, this is proposed to be addressed under our pilot program, where when we're just doing something along the edge of the road, we don't actually cut into the road 20 feet, or the whole road width, basically, would be what the ordinance says, and then 20 feet beyond. From our sense, it doesn't make sense to repave the whole section of road there if it's been recently paved, and all we're doing is work along the edge. So this is just a curb patch along the edge of the roadway, so that only the shoulder area of the road basically is disturbed.
Okay. Is it safe to say, sorry, I just have one more follow-up.
Yeah.
Is it safe to say that that part of Main Street is probably coming at, like, paving season 2025 or beyond?
I haven't looked at it enough detail to be able to tell you
Yeah.
that, so I'm reluctant to commit, but as I said, I think we're in a program of, we want to do the downtown proper, and then I
Yeah.
think we'll be working out both directions beyond that over the following, subsequent years, so.
This was paved, I'm gonna guess, 2016, 17? Remember? Because there were a few problems down there. It was before we began doing.
Yeah, it wasn't paved that long ago.
It was before we began inspecting asphalt quality at the site of manufacture.
Okay.
So we would typically expect
So there was
12 years on an arterial.
There were some issues regarding just the durability of what was done.
I would just foresee that if we are paving Main Street in the near term, this would leave us in a place where we would want that connection on Lake Street to likely be redone all the way back past the impact area, which could be 150 feet or something like that. I don't know what paving costs per linear foot for a road, but I bet it's probably in the thousands of dollars. And if we are to pave that section of Main Street, which it sounds like maybe we're not inside the moratorium period, I would like to ask that the additional cost for pushing that clean connect between Lake Street and Main Street be borne by the developer. And that's kind of, I just want you to understand kind of where I'm coming from with my questions, but it sounds like maybe that's not the case here. You can correct me if I'm wrong, and so I'll thank you for your time.
Well, that wasn't what we asked for, but I mean, if that's what the board desires, and that's something that we could talk to them about, I don't think it's in their current plans, obviously. They're through this work and staying out of the roadway, they're trying to avoid some of that work in the roadway. Yeah, I don't know what conditions it would be when we get there, when we end up paving Main Street. Like I said, arterials typically we would expect to get 12 to 15 years out of, so if it was paved in 2016, 17, it will be coming up, in the next 5, 6 years, something like that. And it may be appropriate at that point in time to pave that approach of Lake Street too. I just don't know.
I don't think the onus would be on them if that's the case, because it's past the moratorium period, so, and that's why I appreciate you entertaining all of this with me.
Commissioner Schoeneman.
Oh, Director Photo.
Well, I just want to, thank you. I just wanted to make a point in that this not only benefits the developer, but this work also benefits the city as well.
Yeah, that's what I was trying
So,
to point
yeah.
out. I mean, we're gonna get a sidewalk, a new section of sidewalk, and certainly the city.
That needs to be.
The city needs
that needs to
needs
be done.
that.
So I
Yeah,
just
so
wanted to
there
make
is-
that point clear.
There is a, benefit, hardship in the same sense. We really don't
Yeah.
like cutting into these streets at all, if newly paved. I think this is a fairly good compromise where we're just limiting the cutting along the edge of the roadway to get that additional feature that the city desires and will benefit from.
I just wanted to make that point.
Commissioner Schoeneman.
When do you anticipate doing this work?
The client received his building permit back in in last month. So as soon as we can get approval, which I think is April sometime generally is when you're allowed to start doing that kind of work, he hopes to start at that point.
Okay. Is there, this seems like a safety issue. Is there any way that something can be done to improve the visibility and the safety of, your folks that are going in and out and the pedestrians? A very busy intersection, a little complicated sometimes.
Well, our plan is to narrow the intersections. Right now, I said it's like about 30, 40 feet wide. So it'll be narrowed down to a 24-foot lane with a left turn lane and a right turn lane to leave the site. The driveway,
The
yes.
driveway, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Is there any temporary things that you can do to keep folks a little more safe until the work can be done in the spring?
I don't believe that they'll be able to, they might start construction, but they won't be able to open until after that work is
Well,
completed.
after that.
So there shouldn't be any issues until it actually opens.
All right. Thank you.
Commissioner Moriarty.
Mayor, if I could put you on the spot, do you have reservations about this project? By your questioning, I thought there might be some reservations.
Yes.
I thought there might be. I'm actually surprised the planning allowed for a left-hand turn onto Lake Street. That is a very busy intersection there. But I'm surprised that was a go. But that's not our jurisdiction, that's the planning board, right? The turn lane. But
The plan doesn't include adding a turn lane on Lake Street. The all-site traffic will come in off of Main Street and depart on Lake Street.
right.
Maybe you're talking about a left turn out of
The
the driveway
left-hand
being
turn, the
difficult.
left-hand
Yeah.
turn is,
Yeah, it
You're
is,
asking
it
for trouble.
is a site that's in a tough location. It's not gonna be great getting in and out, whether it's Main Street or Lake Street in this case. But yeah, I understand that concern.
Anyone else? All right, you understand the motion, I think. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
opposed.
I vote no also, tie vote, and therefore the motion fails. Next item is, where are we? Item F, and I believe this becomes Commissioner Moriarty.
That would be item G, Mayor.
Oh,
G, yeah.
sorry, G. All right, Commissioner Moriarty.
Okay. I move to consider the hardship request from Collinbrook Homes LLC to excavate for water, sewer, and gas services at 7 Westbrook Drive.
Okay, Dan Hudson, City Engineer, again, I'll introduce this, and then representatives can come to speak to the hardship. This, I believe, was a 1 to 2 lot subdivision. It was approved by Planning Board on August 4th of last year. Westbrook Drive was last paved in July of 2020. The new lot and house requires utility services, and the request here is for a moratorium waiver approval so that they can install those in accordance with the moratorium requirements, with the limit of work extending 20 feet beyond any of the impacted area. So with that, I would turn it over to Jay is here. Jay to speak to the hardship aspect.
Hello, Jay Langenese, Collinbrook Homes. I just wanted to, I started the project about a year ago, and I bought 7 Westbrook Drive, renovated it and fixed it, and got an additional lot. And I just wanted to continue on with the project, as the neighbor, if you're looking at the house to the right, and the neighbor across the street seem to think there's a drainage issue, and they continue to call the town and the Public Works Department that there's water running down that lot from the higher area that this abuts the school, which is set up to the back of the school, and they are saying that water is running down that lot into the road and down into the drain. So I disagree with that, but I would like to just do the project and take care of any issues that are coming up from them, because they continue. We had a heavy rain a couple of weeks ago, and they made calls. I had to send guys out there, and there was really nothing that I saw, and I I didn't do anything, and Public Works said there was nothing as well, but they continue to think that there is an issue, so I would just like to get it taken care of.
Any discussion? Commissioner Shea?
By that, do you mean that you're going to do a little bit of grading work?
Correct.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Sorry, I didn't mean in my introduction to point out that there's an error in the staff report. This approval is for 5 Westbrook Drive. As was described, there was a 7 Westbrook, which was subdivided, and the request before you was actually for a waiver request for 5, which is the new lot. So where the motion and whatnot says 7, that should be replaced with a 5.
Anyone else? All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Items H and I are informational items, not requiring formal action. Any questions or comments on either of those informational items? Thank you. All right, then we'll go on to Park Rec. Mr. Conan. Item A, which is in the agenda, Commissioner Shea.
Let's see, I would motion to approve the purchase of 2023 steel green SGXL in the amount of $41,296 from Valley Green of Holyoke, Mass. Funding will be through Department 177 Parks and Recreation, Fund Prior Year Escrow, Account Classification 81, Capital.
Good evening. Brian Conant, Superintendent of Parks and Recreation. This piece of equipment was on the escrow equipment list I came up with. Currently, right now, we have a machine that's similar in nature. It's a 2016. It's heavily used. It allows us to spread granular fertilizer and make some soluble applications to our athletic fields, different park locations. It's essential in the quality of turf we maintain throughout the parks. A lot of the applications we make have to be done in a certain time frame throughout the year, depending on what you're talking about. I find it concerning that we only currently have one machine right now that we can utilize to make these applications, and that's why I went ahead and put this on the escrow list. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right. Discussion? Alderman Moriarty.
Yes, Superintendent, I was just wondering, so the 2016 is not, we're not losing that, you're still gonna have that?
Still going to utilize that, Commissioner, yes.
It's only 6 years old, I was surprised that we would have to replace it, but we're not replacing it.
No, we're not replacing it, but what we have to remember is that, we have, throughout the 900 acres of parks that we have about 150 acres of turf. Within that 150 acres, we treat about 80. So that's 3.5 million square feet. It's quite a bit for a machine to go over, even only being 6 years old. So if something was to happen to it, we don't have anything to back it up. That's my concern, Commissioner.
And then, Mayor,
Go ahead.
getting the quotes, so this is a vendor that I'm not familiar with, I don't know if we've used them before, so did you get other quotes, or is this a sole quote?
This product this piece of machine went out to bid. So we came up with specific bid specifications, and it did go out to bid.
Anyone? Commissioner Shea.
I appreciate your efforts and mission to better treat our turf, and we'll support this.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Anyone else? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. And, of course, now we have item B, Commissioner Shonin.
I move to approve the purchase of a new playground structure and playground equipment for Atherton Park with a total cost of $107,000 $107,523.40 pursuant to the Sourcewell contract number 010521. Funding will be through Department 177, Parks and Recreation, Fund Capital, Activity Citywide Playground Improvements.
Brian Conant, Superintendent of Parks and Recreation. As you're all aware, Atherton Park has, gone under some renovations. A 30-space parking lot has been added. Two soccer fields have replaced two softball fields. A new basketball court. I think we could all agree that with those upgrades, there'll be a lot of activity at the park, and I think it warrants this playground. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any discussion, questions? Commissioner Moriarty.
Superintendent, I was just wondering, I know you're busy, the whole department's busy, but we can't install this ourselves? $25,000 to install this?
No, we cannot. We are understaffed. We are. We've got 17 laborers, and it would be my suggestion. This is going to go in the spring when we're at our busiest. I would disagree with that. I would have them install it, Commissioner, if you want my honest opinion.
Commissioner Shea.
I know there was a lot of connection with the neighbors, I believe, over the course of this project, and people kind of talked about different priorities and whatnot, paving, parking, what they're looking for. Was the neighborhood involved in this concept at all, or was this kind of presented by the vendor?
No, the neighborhood was not involved in the concept. The director and I picked out the concept of the playground. It's got some inclusive pieces, and we felt confident that people would like the design. I believe they will.
Just the one thing that stands out, and I'm sure it'll be fine, but as far as like looking for potential issues, the conga drums, I just wonder, and I've been to way too many playgrounds over the past 2 years.
And the what?
And
What do you-
the
what?
the
What?
conga drums. So a neat thing that a lot of the playgrounds have is a couple of musical instruments that are fixed in place. So you have a conga drum, some have like a steel drum equivalent, bells, and things like that. So there's no bells, and so I'm sure you're not going to hear a lot of dinging and stuff, and that would be the most annoying possible thing. So I'm sure it'll be fine, but I'm just curious about that. The other thing I would say is, did they give you a rendering for this, like a concept image or something?
Yes, they did.
So in the future, because that makes this job much more fun,
not-
I would love to see those included. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah.
We actually can bring that next month.
Yeah, we
to
should
show
do
the
that. That was in the file.
Yep.
The concept design
I
was in
mean,
the file for this
I
meeting.
personally wouldn't hold it up based on that, but I would, just moving forward,
We'll bring it next month.
Yeah, it's nice to see.
We'll bring it to you.
So are you going to be playing the Congo drums? or-
I probably will, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good.
I'll be sure to be there after dusk.
We have a lot of firsts at today's meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we go to, I'm trying to think of, I think it's Maine Dunstable, there's just soccer fields over there.
Yep.
Is it? Yeah, and they've got the music set, is that right?
In the school.
The school, yeah. And I think that most of that playground was the result of donations, but that's a really cool setup. So they've got a couple of drums and the bells and trying to think of what else. Yeah, but it's cool.
All right, any other discussion, questions? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Item C is an informational item. Does anyone have any questions on item C? If not, we'll go to solid waste.
I-
Okay, I'm sorry.
But we need a recommendation from the Board of Public Works.
Well, it says
If you want,
information.
yeah, it should have, yeah.
You want a motion on that?
We should have, we should have a motion.
Yes.
So this is basically, we brought the boulder, you remember the woman had asked for her brother. And so Superintendent Connor brought it to the Mine Falls Advisory Committee, and they advised against placing the boulder in Mine Falls Park because of their concern of, the precedent that might set, that a lot of people might want to put boulders. So, I think we need a motion from the Board of Public Works, whether you want to accept this or whether you want to approve the boulder in Mine Falls Park, because ultimately it's your authority.
All right, and I forget where we are. Who did the last motion? Commissioner Schoen. So Commissioner Moriarty.
I guess the motion I would present would be to endorse the decision by the Mines Walk Committee to not allow the memorial boulder.
So the motion is to agree with the advisory committee. Any discussion? Commissioner Shea.
Do you know if any extent, they had a discussion about dedicating items of utility versus simple memorial? And how did that go?
The discussion that took place, Commissioner Shea, was, they were worried, like the director says, if you accept this, where does it end? I think they all agreed that, and Mrs. Marcotte had looked into this in the beginning and thought that it wasn't feasible for her financially, but they seemed to be willing to accept a granite stone bench that would have a concrete footing, so that way it wouldn't move up and down with the frost heaves that we have in New England.
Yep.
And would last for a very long time. That they seem to be acceptable too. But in talking to the person that they were talking to on, I can't think of the business name, it was around $6,000 for that setup. And it was something that she couldn't do. I think that if that had been proposed, I think that they would probably accept that. So.
Okay. Yeah, it's good to know kind of where they stand on that question, because
Yeah.
that was part of our discussion when
And
we.
I think part of our discussion is how many, with that, how many people are going to spend $6,000 on a granite bench?
Yeah.
So it's not going to be flooded with boulders and plaques and things of that nature.
But there's various things in the park, like the Boy Scout, Eagle Scout picnic tables and things like that, that are really nice and dedicated and have a name on them. And but it's good to know that the Mines Falls, I always do this. So the Mine Falls
Advisory committee.
committee has some openness to that kind
do.
of application.
They were very appreciative that this had gone to them. There is a granite bench currently in the park that, according to them, just appeared one day, and they had no knowledge of it. So they were very appreciative to be involved.
Good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Solid Waste Department, item A, Commissioner Shea.
The motion is to approve the purchase of GPS units and equipment for the landfill at a cost of $179,735 from Carlson Machine Software Control of Watertown, Mass. Funding will be through Department 168 Solid Waste, Fund Bond Activity GPS System Landfill.
Jeff LaFleur, Superintendent Solid Waste. This system here that we're requesting to buy will hook up to both of our compactors and both our dozers, and will give us compaction rating. It'll help us, project that how much good compaction we're getting. We're getting maximum compaction. It'll also help us with our side slopes when we start shaping for closing of our Phase 3 landfill or any of our side slopes. It'll tell us our grades. It'll keep us on track. We're also requesting a mobile unit where I'll be able to go around and actually physically mark our wells, where they are, any settlement that's happening, we'll be able to check all of that while we're using these units.
Commissioner Shea.
So does this tie altitude data to GPS data to figure out the height of the surface, or?
There'll be a base unit tied in,
Yeah.
so all my units that are gonna be connected to my equipment will be able to be satellite driven. We'll be able to see where they are, what they're doing, the actual height of the landfill, how much compaction. So there'll be a unit inside the compactor that every time that they go over it, it'll turn colors. Once it turns red, it means it met maximum compaction. And then they can stop going over the trash.
And then that data is all cataloged? and you
All
can look back
cataloged,
at
we'll
it.
be able to do it on CAD files and look at stuff. We can actually shape the landfill the way we want. with our engineering unit, Sanborn Head, they could actually help us so we could shape the landfill. Once we get to the certain heights, the machine will tell you you're done, go to another spot. It can go down to almost the inch. That's how close we can get. So it'll maximize as much airspace as we have.
Commissioner Shea.
And will this, is there any sort of software as a service required from this company or another company that would be an enduring cost, or is this a one-time cost for the system?
No, there'll be some software costs eventually. We haven't actually calculated out the costs yet, but this gets us going for the first year. We'll also be able to tie in with Sanborn Head's software that's already doing some of our calculations for us. So it's going to tie in. They highly recommended this unit because they use this already at another landfill. So
Commissioner Moriarty.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Mayor, should this motion pass and the equipment is purchased, I would love to see a demo of it and, at the solid waste. I don't know about the other commissioners, but I certainly would like to see it working. Yep.
absolutely, anytime. I'll put you in the machine, you can run it.
No way.
Mayor, you haven't come yet. We're waiting for you.
Commissioner Schoeneman.
You did mention that other landfills are using this system. Have you been able to see it in action?
There's a lot of YouTubes that we've watched. We've watched multiple on them. I've actually talked to Turnkey, their head people over there that use it, and they love the
Which is a
the
waste
equipment.
management landfill.
Yeah, a waste management landfill. They say it's an amazing system. We're going to love it. It's going to gain us the maximum capacity that we have at our landfill. So,
We should have had this a long time ago.
yeah, we should have.
Anything else? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Street Department. Item A, Commissioner Schoeneman.
I move to approve the purchase of a 2022 Toro 4300D Groundsmaster for the price of $81,560.33 pursuant to the Sourcewell contract number 18696-CEC. Funding will be through Department 177 Parks and Recreation Fund Trust Activity Surf.
Michael Rush, Fleet Manager. This is an addition to the parks equipment that they have over there. So I might defer this one to Brian to explain why it is he wants to purchase this.
Good evening. Brian Conant, Superintendent of Parks and Recreation. This is a mower that we can use in several different locations. One thing I'm after here right now currently in taking in the operation after being here for almost a year is currently right now we use a large-scale Toro mower. It's called a 5910 if you want to write down the model number and look it up on their website. The machine weighs 7,300 pounds. This machine weighs 3,200 pounds. That's a 2-ton difference. I look at some of our athletic fields, some of the areas where we can only turn this machine in the same spot, in the same location. It's hard to grow grass in these locations. So with this, I think we'd be better off trailering up the mower, bringing it to the park, which would then allow the piece of equipment to last longer. If you were to talk to the fleet manager on the 5910, the big Toro mower, he replaces wheel bearings on a yearly basis. He's gone to the biggest ply tires that they have because when we drive down the road and we go over a pothole, the tires blow out. So I think not only this would allow us to have a better quality turf field at the end of the day, but it's going to allow us to have a piece of machine that's going to last longer in the end. So I'd be happy to answer any other questions.
Commissioner Schoeneman.
As a technical question, why is this purchased under the street department? Is that because the surf? Or why is it under street departments instead of parks and recreation?
We usually do this, I'll answer this question. We usually do this because the fleet manager is really the one that presents all of this, and fleet is still currently under the umbrella of the street department. So that's why we just list all of our equipment under one. But if you look at the funding, it is being purchased through Park and Rec funding.
So this big mower is considered part of the fleet,
Yes, part of our fleet,
which
correct.
includes all the trucks and all the
It's part of
plows
the
and
SURF,
all that
right,
stuff.
part of the SURF plan.
Part of the
So,
SERB plan.
Right, so
Okay.
these were purchases that were approved through our budget, for the budget process, correct.
I understand.
So that is a little confusing, sorry. But the reason we do that is because the fleet manager is really the one that does the heavy lifting on getting all of the quotes and, if necessary, putting things out for bid and determining whether or not equipment needs to be replaced or does not need to be replaced based on the maintenance history and that sort of thing, so.
I see.
So that's why
Okay.
it's all under the street department.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Shea.
How is the health of our SURF account? I know that maybe 5 years ago was somewhat perilous, if I recall. And I know that we've been working to kind of build that back up so that we have the capacity to meet our needs. I'm just curious.
Every year we look at our SURF schedule and we determine what we absolutely need to replace in a current year. And the mayor's been very supportive of that, and he understands where we were, probably 15 years ago, and we don't want to go back there. So the mayor has supported funding SURF for the necessary purchases every year. So we have had enough money to.
Good.
be able
There's
to
not a big
do what we need.
balance in it. I mean, there's enough to buy the equipment schedule for this year and
Yeah.
then maybe a little more money. But there's not a big balance over and above what is required for the current purchases. Definitely more money would need to be, to make the next set of purchases. There's not enough money in the account to do that, so more money will be required.
Yeah, I feel like, and I could be way wrong on this, but I feel like maybe in 2015, like the account was dwindled down to like sub $200,000 or something like that. And capacity-wise, it behooves us to have more on hand in case something
Well,
happens.
$3 million just went into it.
Yeah.
But, but that will be used through the course of the year to make these purchases. And at the end of the year, I forget what the balance is projected to be exactly, but it's not as low as 200. It's like $1 million or two
Okay.
at the end of the year. But then in fiscal, in the next fiscal year, there will be, or in the next year or two, there will be more purchases, that need to be made.
Mhm. Good, thank you.
All right, we've got, what are we on? Motion B, right?
We're still
Yes.
on B, yes.
Commissioner
We're still on
Moriarty.
No,
Oh, no, we're on A, I'm
We're on-
sorry.
We haven't voted.
we're on
Still
A.
on A,
We're
yes,
still
sorry,
on A, yeah.
sorry. Yeah, we're still on A, the 3,000 versus 7,000 pounds.
Okay, I
Commissioner
think
Moriarty.
I have the answer, Superintendent. I was wondering, I thought Groundmaster was some kind of manufacturer, but it's actually a Toro.
Yes.
Okay, so I didn't see Toro on the paperwork, but I see it in the motion. Because I know we're trying to, as a division, we've talked about trying to keep the same manufacturer so that, replacement parts are the same on what we do. And,
Yes.
I'm happy to see it's a Toro if we're buying Toro.
Yes, I think the fleet manager could speak to that. Their service is impeccable, so I'm pretty sure he likes working with them just as much as I do.
Mike Rush, Fleet Manager. So in regards to the Toro brand, so we're trying to obviously stay with the brand. A lot of these mowers, even though they're different sizes, a lot of them take the same parts, the same tires, and the service that we get from this current company has been outstanding considering all the challenges that we've been presented with over the last 2-3 years. This company has been above everybody else, in my opinion, and we get really good support. And their pricing is government contracted as well, so we do get the premium government contracted pricing with them as well. But a lot of the mowers that we purchase have a lot of commonality. So all the parts are sort of interchangeable. They might just be a little bigger, but we might be able to borrow something from something else to get us by. So it gives us kind of a backup too.
Thank you.
Commissioner Shea.
Do you know if the big old ruts in Greeley Park, kind of near to the wading pool, there's like two real low areas in Greeley Park where it gets soggy, and then there's ruts out there. Is that vehicle that you were talking about, the one that caused those? And would this resolve issues like that?
I'll defer that to Brian.
Yes.
Yeah. Great. Thank you.
Anyone else? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item B, Commissioner Shoneman.
I move to approve the purchase of a 2022 Toro Reelmaster 3573D for the price of $77,697.76 pursuant to the Sourcewell contract number 18696-CEC. Funding will be through Department 177 Parks and Recreation Fund Trust, Activity Surf.
So this mower is similar to the first one, just a different model. You know, after going over it with the park superintendent, this is going to replace one of the other mowers that we currently have. We're not going to take that other mower out of service. We're going to try to keep that as a backup so that they continue to utilize the mowers. We did have a couple of issues this year where we had all the mowers down at the same time, and it was in the height of when we had all that rain. So the grass grew a little faster than expected, and they had to play catch-up. So we're going to, replace that mower and keep the older one as a backup and try to keep repairing it until it's no longer feasible to keep in service.
Commissioner Shoneman.
The quote seems to indicate that the lead time on this mower could be quite long. Do we expect to get it for the season, for the summer?
So this has been a problem with vendors across the board, no matter which company we seem to go out on. Toro is getting a little bit faster. I believe these mowers are maybe about 8 months out, which is not horrible considering what we've been going through the last few years, getting equipment across the board. It could be a little sooner, but the last time that we checked, it was about 6 to 8 months.
And Mike, just to take that one step further, most of the trucks are how far out?
So most of the heavy equipment, if we're going on that, is almost 2 years. And that's recent, within the last 6 months. So what the manufacturers are currently doing on that side of things is they're only slotting a certain amount of trucks per year. So it's first come, first serve. So if you miss the boat on that first one, on getting a spot, you now have to wait for the next slot for the next season to get your equipment. So you could be pushed out even further than 2 years if you don't get it when it comes available. So looking at the smaller equipment, 8 months is not too bad in the current industry.
Commissioner Shea.
Is this only one 22-inch blade on this vehicle? 5?
5.
So it's 5 wide. Okay, I was like, oh my God, $80,000 for something that's, you're going to be going zigzag back and forth for 3 days
Yeah,
for each ball field.
It's a little bigger than the residential mower.
Good. Okay, thank you.
All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item C, Commissioner Moriarty.
Move to approve the purchase of one 850L John Deere crawler dozer from United Construction and Forestry for the total purchase price of $525,150. Funding will be through Department 168 Solid Waste Fund Bond Activity Surf.
Jeff LaFleur, Superintendent Solid Waste. This purchase is obvious, it's a dozer. We use our dozer every day up there. It's our main covering material, so whenever we do daily cover over our trash, which is a permit-driven thing, I have to have 6 inches of daily cover over it. A dozer is the perfect piece of equipment to do that. The current one that we have is scheduled to get replaced. I'm not going to get rid of it. I'm going to keep it as a backline unit. We're having a hard time getting our dozers or any of our heavy equipment fixed, so having a backline unit is gonna be critical for our department now. It can take me, 3, 6, 8 weeks to get a piece of equipment fixed. If this dozer goes down, I have nothing to really cover the landfill with except for the compactor, and I'm using way too much airspace when I try to cover with a compactor. So my dozer's up for replacement this year. We're gonna purchase this one, and I am gonna keep the other one as a backline unit. So now we'll have a spare to do side slopes and other stuff.
Commissioner Shea.
I feel like we are accumulating a lot of backline units over at the landfill, which is good. And so my question, kind of in relation to that, is, these vehicles don't live under any sort of canopy or anything like that, do they? Or did we? Yeah,
I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah.
For my trash trucks and my loaders and stuff, they're actually getting installed next week.
Okay, that's right, we did
They're
that.
finally coming in, so I did buy 3 big covers, so I'll have most of my equipment underneath. You are correct with having backup equipment. We've never had that before at the landfill. It's essential. We're doing stuff, heavy equipment, we're running it every day. Something breaks down, we can't afford to have it. So, the dozer will be a backup. The next excavator I buy, I'll have a backup. The end dump, when that finally goes, we're gonna have a backup, so I can continue my operations properly and not have to scramble and use inadequate equipment to do the work.
Will the new and old live under a canopy, or that's for other vehicles?
We'll do whatever we can to get stuff under the canopies.
Yeah.
Backline stuff, I'm not gonna be overly worried about because it's already old and, it's only gonna be used once in a while. The new stuff is gonna be underneath the canopies first. That's our high priority.
Great.
Keep those things running as long as possible.
Good, thank you.
Commissioner Shoneman.
I appreciate the need for this kind of heavy equipment. That's a lot of money, $500,000.
Yeah, landfill equipment is outrageous. I mean, it's $1 million for a compactor. But we run them, 7, 8 hours a day, 6 days a week. They're running hard. It's not like it's an easy job for the equipment to use.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
Believe me, I'd love to find something that's not as expensive, but we just won't get the life
Do you
out of
ever
them.
find these kind of things used good condition?
Well, we did do a compactor refurb on the last one we had. It was $500,000 instead of $1 million. That machine's working well, but you can only do that once to the piece of equipment. If I do it to my dozer's down for 6, 8, maybe a year, 6, 8 months to a year, then I don't have a dozer. If I buy this one, maybe John Deere or the next, the Cat, I could repair it, keep it on a rotating schedule. That's what our replacement schedule is really designed to do,
That's what
to give
it's
us the time to do it.
Yeah, and it does have an extended warranty,
A 5-year on that one.
5-year. That's not too bad. Okay.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item D, Commissioner Moriarty.
I move to approve the purchase of one 410P tier John Deere backhoe from United Construction and Forestry for the total purchase price of $166,900. Funding will be through Department 161 Streets, Fund, Trust, Activity Surf.
John Ibarra, Superintendent, Street Department. So this backhoe purchase will be replacing 64, which is getting tired. It's a frontline unit used daily, both for excavating, whether it's a sewer repair or street work, sidewalk panels, and also snow removal. So it is a frontline unit. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Anyone? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. Item E, Commissioner Shea.
The motion is to approve the purchase of one 2023 International CV515 SFA cab and chassis from Allegiance Truck, is it chassis? Allegiance Trucks of Manchester, New Hampshire, in the amount of $82,125,000 pursuant to the State of New Hampshire contract number 8002661. Funding will be through Department 161 Street. Fund Trust Activity Surf.
John Ibarra, Superintendent, Street Department. This will be replacing a 2012 550. This also is a frontline unit used to transport crews and materials to the job site, as well as attack the snow. It'll be set up for snow plowing operations. And again, happy to answer any questions.
Any-
Never mind.
Commissioner Moriarty.
All right, so Superintendent, tell me why we're going with International. We're getting away from the Ford, or what happened here?
This is a little bit bigger truck, a little over the same weight class. We'll get a better lifespan out of this unit. It'll last us longer and push more snow, bigger blades. I believe this is a diesel.
It is a diesel.
Yep. Over the CNG. We've had some misfortune with those particular CNGs, though. In the trash truck, CNGs worked out good, but for our line of work, we're going to get away from that in the smaller unit.
So do we have other Internationals in the fleet?
Yeah, we have another CV515 that's worked out great for us, set up similarly. To your point, trying to get the same units for parts and equal treat.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Opposed, motion passes. Item F, Commissioner Shoneman.
I move to approve the purchase of one CV 515 flatbed upfit packages from Vikings Sieves USA of Williston, Vermont, for the total purchase price of $26,000. Funding will be through Department 161 Street, Fund Trust, Activity Surf.
John Ibarra, Superintendent, Streets. This is the upfit package to include the flatbed that'll be mounted on that cabin chassis, and it'll be equipped with a spreader for snow ops.
Commissioner Shea.
Are we doing brine still?
We are.
Yeah.
We haven't had much luck with it this year due to the warmer climate or
Yep.
temperatures that we're getting. A lot of the systems seem to come in wet, so
And-
that would dilute the brine, so.
And so this spreader, that would just be for salt and sand, right? Not the brine truck's a separate thing?
Correct.
Yeah. Thank you.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Item G, Commissioner Moriarty.
I move to approve the purchase of one 324G John Deere skid steer from United Ag and Turf for the total purchase price of $70,452.84. Funding will be through Department 161 Street, Fund Trust, Activity Surf.
John Ibarra, Superintendent, Street Department. So this will be replacing our 2010 Bobcat, which will go to the back line. This will be a frontline unit used on our summer projects for reclamation of fields, any construction projects, sidewalk repairs, paving, and again, used for snow removal ops. And I can answer any questions you may have.
What is
Commissioner
this?
Shoneman.
What is a skid steer? Bulldozer?
No, it's a four-wheel unit. Looks like it has arms with a bucket on the front. It can take many implements. We are going to put a snow bucket on it, snow blade, a Harley rake for treating fields on construction projects.
Okay,
Looks like a compact loader.
okay.
Like a little
Real
loader.
front loader. Okay. All right, just curious. You know, pictures would be nice.
Okay, we could do that.
That's a good idea. We'll
Yeah.
do better with pictures.
If you're gonna spend $500,000 on something, at least be nice to know what it looks like. So, my opinion.
All right, anything else? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you both. So we have administration, item A is informational. Item B is the director's report, which
Okay,
the director is going to give us.
yes. You're all welcome to leave if you'd like, yeah. You want, oh, it's so riveting, isn't it? Okay. This is, we talked about paving Main Street, which we're very excited to do. We've received a lot of complaints about the condition of Main Street. It's definitely time. So we're in preparation for that. Engineering and wastewater are inspecting storm drain structures and pipes using closed-circuit television cameras. Wastewater is shown here inspecting the storm drain structures on Main Street in late December. This is, make sure I got the right slides here. This is a buried sewer manhole that we found on Factory Street. And SUR Construction raised the structure to grade and replace the manhole cover. So that sometimes happens. We find buried because they've just been paved over. As part of our CMOM project, which is Capacity Management Operations and Maintenance, a Phase 2 project, National Water Main Cleaning Company continues to inspect sewer and storm drains using closed-circuit television, again, cameras. This is National Water Main is shown inspecting the Mill Pond Interceptor on Riverside Street in early January. So, we've been very busy doing tree work with a lot of the heavy wet snow. Pictured on the left to right left is a ball field area on Ledge Street, Main Street, and then far in the middle, and then far right the rail trail. We recently did some tree work at Greeley Park, which is badly needed. We have a lot of dead trees that were in danger of falling. We removed some of them and also trimmed up some limbs. We are currently putting up the lights at Levine Park, which is really exciting, in the ball field. And the demolition will begin next week, I believe. We've been having a lot of graffiti citywide, unfortunately. That's becoming a bigger and bigger issue. We're trying to keep up with it. Some of it is very resistant to the cleaners that we've used, so it's becoming more and more challenging. This is the sculpture at Rotary Common that we recently cleaned. This year, we are celebrating 50 years of our Summer Fun program, which is something that began in the 1970s. So Lauren Byers and her team are working on some fun things to celebrate. We've got some people like June, Alderman Karen, who has been involved in Summer Fun for a very long time on the committee. So if you have any ideas, they've got concert series and other exciting things planned. Winter weather reminders. We want to remind everyone about our snow removal and emergency protocols. And during a snow emergency, there is no, of course, we haven't had one yet, thank goodness. I don't think this has ever happened in my tenure here with the city, this late in January, not to have a snow emergency, but let's hope it continues. But during a snow emergency, there is no parking on streets. Parking in the downtown garages are free. As soon as a snow emergency is declared, residents can park in the parking garages for free. So it's not just during the snow emergency, but as soon as the snow emergency is declared. We will post those on message boards. We'll post it on the city website. There'll be an announcement. We'll post it on Facebook. So there are a lot of ways that the residents can find out about snow emergencies. We will try to declare them as early as we possibly can to give people enough notice. Vehicles left on the street, though, will be towed to the landfill, and the tow fee is $315, so it's fairly steep. Let's see. We do clean 50 miles of sidewalks, but we can't clean all of the sidewalks. We really encourage residents to clean the sidewalks in front of their homes. That's a huge help for us. We don't have if we have a lot of time between snowstorms, then we can clear more sidewalks, but lately, we've had 3 back-to-back, so we can't. We do also do snow removal on Main Street, which will be coming up soon if it doesn't all melt with this warm weather. The best place to reach us too is not to call us during a snow emergency or during a snow event, because we're really busy and straight out. The best place to reach us is DPW request at nashua.nh.gov. We encourage, and that's worked very well. A lot of residents are now accustomed to using that email. So again, DPW request at nashua.nh.gov. You probably won't get somebody if you try to call. This is crews installing electrical conduit to a meter pedestal at the pump house at Atherton Park. This is just a picture of some sidewalk clearing. As I mentioned earlier, we clear 50 miles of sidewalk, but the same crews that clear the sidewalk are also are plowing. So we don't often get to them immediately. It usually takes the next day or so, because staff needs to get some rest after plowing for an extended period of time. So I just want to remind, it's the same crews that are out clearing sidewalks that are plowing. Again, we faced some challenges in the last 10 days with back-to-back weather systems, and we had, it went from rain to snow to ice to back to snow to rain. These were very challenging storms. So we appreciate everybody's patience. This is, the crews are repairing a catch basin due to brickwork failing, which created a sinkhole at 2 Travis Road. We've been filling potholes in between weather events. The weather has been crazy. It's been cold and then very warm, which is just prime for potholes. So we've been doing that in between plowing events. This is new piping at Blackstone Pump Station. This is part of our Phase 2 pump station upgrades. We have our bypass gate, which is the gate that goes into wet weather. The gate was failing, so we had to rent a bypass pump to bypass the flow so that we could fix the gate, which was a real challenge. But we got that done. We're not allowed to, you might ask, well, why didn't you just bypass? We're not allowed to do that unless there's a wet weather condition from our permit, so that's why we had to use a bypass pump. We want to remind everyone, please don't bury your toters in snow. Clear them out. We can't get to them if they're covered with snow or stuck in a snowbank. And we're very excited to announce, Superintendent LaFleur's gone, that our Phase 4 permit was approved for the landfill. So we'll be going into now design of the Phase 4 and construction. So this has taken, we've been at this for about 4 years now. So there's a lot of effort that went in from city staff and our consultants, so we're really very excited about this. We found out just before, right before Christmas, so it was a great Christmas gift. I wanted to give you a recycling update. Our single stream rate for December was $84.45 per ton. Last year, in 2021, it was $21.76, so it's gone up significantly. So this is down a little bit from what it was, though. We were up at around 100, but it's been pretty volatile, and we're hoping it's going to trend back down, but I'll keep you updated as to what happens. But it's been, 80 to 100 the past 5 or 6 months. And the Fort Hills landfill and the National Recycling Center will be closed on Monday, February 20th in honor of President's Day, so all curbside collections will be delayed by a day that week. And that's it. Any questions? Yes.
Commissioner Shea.
Thank you. So you touched on Main Street and how it's in dire need of paving
Yeah.
someday. Is that on our near-term schedule?
Yes.
And how near-term?
This fall,
This-
well, this summer, end of the summer. It'll be the last week of August, September, October.
Okay. The city master plan, or I don't think it's called a master planning document anymore, it's called something else, but the Vision Nashua exercise calls for a concept of kind of reworking some of the curbs with bump outs and things. Are we going to pursue that concept for review in earnest before Main Street is paved? I would just hate to see us put a surface down that we really want to see, us get 15 years, is that about right? Like 15 years before we're really,
Yeah, probably
10 to 12?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would hate to see us pave all of Main Street and then kind of leave us feeling like we want to back burner that for 10 or 15 years. And so I'm wondering to what extent that has been discussed, and if not, is that something that we could work towards between now and then?
I think, and the mayor might want to speak to more of this, but right now, we are doing capacity analysis that will show, so there's a number of things that are under review. For instance, making West Pearl, taking West Pearl and making in the opposite direction, and some other traffic changes. So they're doing a capacity analysis, and then I think that's a very expensive project. So we're looking at grant opportunities that we might be able to get to do some of that work. So I think that it's, even if we got a grant, it's a ways out. As you know, you were involved with the
Oh, with the
Lot Street
10-year
project,
plan
right?
and-
And
yeah.
we're still,
Yeah.
how long ago did we get that grant?
For French Hill, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a
Yeah.
long time. So I
And that'll be
think
what,
I
2026
I don't think
maybe?
yeah.
Give or take.
Hopefully, it's coming.
10 years?
It's coming
Okay.
finally, but.
Good.
But it's taken a long time.
Okay.
And so I think Main Street really needs to be paved. It's really bad. So I don't think we could wait the however many years it's gonna take us, for us to be able to
Yeah.
do that. But
We're
the mayor might
desperate
wanna
on
speak.
Main Street.
Mm.
Yeah.
Finally, the utility work is done, but,
Yeah.
it's desperately needed, really. And, we can't hold it up, on the idea, well, maybe pretty soon. There's money allocated for kind of a little more of a design than we've got now. Now we have a concept and Imagine Nashua is what we actually called that, the master plan. But I think there's $100,000 allocated to provide a little preliminary design work. But that's not a project that the city has money for. in the
On a
near
5
term.
to 10-year horizon, yeah.
I don't know, 10 is a long time, but
Yeah.
the Main Street needs to be paved like yesterday, so,
Like 5 years ago.
yeah, so, we cannot delay it.
Okay. It makes me so sad, but I understand. And just one more follow-up. Is it possible to do anything down by the train tracks that would be like a cement fixture that would have some more durability?
In fact, Dan is sitting there shaking his head. We've been talking about that, and I know that that's something that will be a topic at our staff meeting tomorrow. And Dan is trying to reach out to the railroad and trying to have a discussion with them. It's something we can't obviously do on our own. It's something they have to work with us because we can't touch their tracks. So we're hoping that they're going to be willing to work with us to get that done, because that really needs to be done.
Yeah,
It's terrible.
my doctor is a bicycle enthusiast and lives downtown and is involved with the Strong Towns effort, and he reminded me of what a issue that is, and so I appreciate that you're working on that.
We are.
Thank you.
How much of that stretch of track, how much in that area is the city, and how much of that belongs to the railroad itself? Whose jurisdiction is where?
Of the track itself?
So the road, the at grade where the road crosses the tracks, is it the city right up to the tracks? We're responsible for the pavement right up to the tracks, or
Pretty close to that.
is there
Pretty
some
close to that.
margin?
Yeah, I think
Around
there's
the
there's a
tracks.
little bit of, I don't know, Dan, if you know the answer to that, but, but it's pretty, we can't get close enough to impact their tracks. So we have done some mill and fill, close to their tracks, but that's why they're such a mess, because we can't get close enough that we'd impact their tracks. So it's definitely a project we have to work through together. We did on East Hollis Street, I don't know if you remember, we did, this is going back quite a few years now, probably 7 years or so, we did those tracks, and they worked with us to get that done. But, so we're hoping that we can get them to.
There is a new
Railroad's
owner.
tough to work with.
There is a new owner now.
Yeah,
And they
there's a
claimed
new
they were
owner.
gonna be more cooperative as they were seeking to be approved for the purchase. So the sale went from Pan Am to CSX, which is a bigger national company, which we're hopeful,
Yes.
that they will be more interested and more able to invest money in various improvements like this. And cooperate. Now, I thought there was a meeting. No, not held
Not
yet?
yet. We're trying.
Yeah, even if we have to, like, pony up some for it, like,
Yeah.
it would be nice if they would pay for it, but as far as, like, if we could have it be more durable, I think, we'd be well served by doing that. I'm sure it would help with equipment too, like plows and stuff, and,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Mr. Hudson has that, I don't want to talk about it, like.
Yeah.
No, I don't have much for details. I just, that crossing is ripe for a complete overhaul. The issue there is, were we to do that, they'd probably have to replace crossing signals, railroad signals and all kinds of things. I think that's why it was avoided previously. I know we have done kind of a paving operation previously where they were there and observed it, but they had some oversight, but it really warrants a more in-depth improvement to that. Maybe there's a little paving thing we can do to buy some more time, but it is a discussion we're going to have with them, and there are some other locations where we have similar issues. So hopefully it is true that we have a new company and they're more receptive to that, and we can address some of those issues. But we're going to have to engage them and have meetings to talk through all that and figure out what can be done.
Thank you.
All right, anything else on the director's report? If not, commissioners' comments? Any comments from commissioners? Commissioner Moriarty.
Thank you. I was just, I was unable to make the, this golf committee public meeting, and so I was wondering at some point if we can have an update on what's going on with that whole situation. It doesn't have to be tonight, but I mean, just to put it on the agenda.
I can certainly give you an update. So that meeting was a meeting for the Oak Hill Condo Association at the request of Alderman Sullivan. And it turned into more of a, there were some people that had questions, but it turned into sort of a couple of residents being, incredibly rude, frankly, and yelling and screaming. And I unfortunately was sick, so I wasn't there. But Lauren Byers took a beating by a couple of residents, and it's unfortunate. There are a couple of residents who are spreading just misinformation and trying to scare people, and on Facebook and in other areas. And when the disc golfers try to correct the misinformation, they're blocked. So it's unfortunate. This project has a tremendous amount of support. It's just a great project. It's not something. It's a project I love because it's really been driven by residents who've asked for this. It's not something that we came up with at Park and Rec. It's something that over 200 residents and climbing have asked for. So I'm excited about that for that reason. I think that's our job, is to provide recreation opportunities that residents are asking for. We are working right now with Sherry Dutsey, who is on the Conservation Commission, and the Conservation Commission. We will be going before them, I think, hopefully in March. And we're working on, a couple of items with them, a maintenance plan, which of course will come here. And we're just working with them to build a park and make it happen. So we're hoping that it'll be under construction, probably, hopefully, by late spring, if everything goes the way we planned. We have a group of residents, the committee that you agreed to, that are just so excited and so passionate about it. So I don't know if there'll be another meeting, but they did develop some rules that will be brought before you. Probably next meeting we'll bring them for you to comment on and hopefully approve. There was a lot of discussion about the rules, and they were very thoughtful, and so we did take a few things back from the meeting. One from the meeting that you were asking about, Commissioner Moriarty. One of them is delineating where the private property is, so people will know where the city property ends and where the private property began. Looking at whether or not we have any holes that are pointed towards private property. We don't think we did, because we kept that into consideration. Some of the Oak Hill folks, and this isn't related at all to disc golf, were concerned about parking, sometimes that their driveway gets blocked. So we're gonna be looking at that to try to do some striping and no parking signs, so that doesn't happen. That's currently happening now because of the sledding hill. Not really related to disc golf. And then just some general signage that explains, which would be part of the sign package anyway, for the disc golf park, that would explain, that there could be flying discs and that sort of thing. So it's moving forward, but you'll be hearing more about it in the coming months. But
Thank you.
so I don't know. Hopefully that answers your question. If you have any
Yes.
other questions, happy to answer.
All right, any other commissioners' comments? Commissioner Shea?
Is it Alex that's involved with the disc golf?
Alex McLean,
Yeah.
yes.
So when we were in for the pension meeting this week, I ran into him over at the DPW office, and he was one of the guys that was working multiple shifts for snow, and you could just tell looking at him, he was dog-tired. And so I just wanted to note appreciation for, all the city workers that have been pushing their limits, because I know that, I've worked nights, and I know that it's, it's disruptive on a whole lot of levels, so thank you to them for that.
Thank you for saying that. I will make sure. They're probably, not many of them are probably watching this evening, so
Probably in bed already.
I will pass that on to them. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, personnel, we have a motion A. Commissioner Shea.
The motion is to approve and unseal non-public minutes for personnel from the Board of Public Works meeting of December 15th, 2022.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. What? Okay, we need to go into non-public, and I think we have a motion from Commissioner Moriarty.
Thank you, Mayor. I move by roll call that the board go into non-public session pursuant to RSA 91-A3, Roman numeral 2B, the hiring of any person as a public employee.
And I'm sure Alderman Jettie will be disappointed to learn that only board members and staff are supposed to be at this.
I'm very disappointed. Thank you, it's always a pleasure.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
filling
Thank
in.
you for staying. Okay, so are we,
Roll call.
Oh, did we get the, do we do
Did
the
we,
motion? No.
I'm sorry,
the
you
roll,
read the
please.
motion.
I read the motion.
Yeah,
Okay.
the motion is made.
Commissioner Moriarty?
Yes.
Commissioner Shoneman?
Yes.
Commissioner Shea?
Yes.
Mayor Donches?
Yes. All right, so we're non-public.
We're s- high-tech stuff.
That is the funniest thing. It really is. Okay.
Are we back in?
We're back in, are we back, Jeff? Yes.
All right, Commissioner Moriarty.
Thank you. I move by roll call to seal the minutes of the Board of Public Works Personnel non-public meeting of January 26, 2023, until such time as the majority of the board votes that the purpose of the confidentiality will no longer be served.
Commissioner Moriarty?
Yes.
Commissioner Shoneman?
Yes.
Commissioner Shea?
Yes.
Mayor Donches?
Yes. So those motion passes. And I believe we have one final motion. Commissioner Moriarty.
Mayor, I move that we adjourn the meeting.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And the meeting is adjourned at 5:48 PM.